Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Former NFL great Vernon Davis just released his first rap album called Showtime with the song Bounce Like This. He joined me to discuss growing up in Washington, D.C., from Dunbar High School to the University of Maryland, before dominating the NFL on the 49ers and Broncos and ultimately ending his career back in Washington. Vernon Davis, hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in your hometown of Washington, D.C.
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, you are a DC native and an NFL grade and a Terrapin alum and a Commanders alum and all kinds of local ties here. Maybe we can get into some of that if we have time. But, I want to talk about, we're here because you're releasing your first ever, your debut album. It's called Showtime. How'd you meet up with Tone P? I guess he's a multi-platinum producer, but for District Funk Records, DC native himself. But, how did that connection happen?
I reached out to a friend of mine, and I was asking him about music, and he was like, hey, I have a buddy named Tone P you should work with. He's interested in working with you. So I said, yeah, why don't you just patch us in? This is when I first started. I didn't know too much about music. All I knew is that I could write poetry. And I was very intrigued with the world of writing and rapping. So I reached out to Tone. He came in and we developed a song together called Bounce Like This. And next thing you know, we're working together.
I love it. You mentioned Bounce Like This. If anyone looks it up on YouTube, they'll see you amongst all of the burgundy and gold seats. You're filming it at FedEx Field, the video. How fun was it to get to go back there, where you played your last couple years of your career? And part B of that question, have any of your former teammates, have any of the players hit you up and said, oh, I love seeing you dance in the stadium?
Yeah, they never really expected to see me in this light, but life is about it's about unexpected. You have to continue to keep going, moving forward, and do the things that you enjoy doing.
Yes, and some other songs. That Phone has a bit of a trap rap vibe to it. How I Play It has, I don't know what you would say, like an auto-tuning filter on your voice, like a lot of the hit records are today. How did you go about crafting the sound from Bounce Like This to Phone to How I Play It? Like, take me like the musicality of like maybe trying to have a slightly different sound for each song.
Well, when I was in the studio, depending on the pace of the song, like when I was in the studio writing and then I went to the mic, Tone was like, hey, switch it up, try this. Yeah, I like that. I like deeper. So depending on the song, the instrumentals behind the voice, it can sound better this way or that way, depending on perspective.
I love it. Well, I'm curious. So obviously we all know you as a football player, but you're born in DC in 1984. Great year. That's the year I was born too. But what sort of like rap, or music, otherwise R&B, whatever, did you listen to growing up that might have, all these years later influenced this album? You know what I mean? Like what were some of your go-tos growing up?
I listened to a lot of Jay-Z, a lot of J. Cole. I've listened to, who else did I listen to? I say Jay-Z, Tupac was some of my biggest influencers.
You and a lot of people our age, my friend. I mean, we all, it's just all-time GOAT stuff with the two of them. And of course, you played at Dunbar High School, Gatorade Player of the Year for DC, I guess, Rivals.com. I think you were like number 4 tight end in the nation, something like that. What was your like best high school game? Was there one that you remember that you just made everyone look ridiculous? I always love talking to the, NFL players looking back at their high school days and just schooling people. But was there a game you really went off?
In high school?
Yeah. Like what was your high school game that we would throw the tape on and just be in awe?
I think something that when I look back, I think about the game where we were playing at home. It might have been Blue that we were playing, Blue Senior High School, and I didn't have my mouthpiece in. And all I remember is returning the punt, and I was running up the middle of the field. At the same time, I was putting my mouthpiece
in. You're like Mike Tyson after Buster Douglas, like trying to squeeze it back in. I love it.
Exactly.
Oh, that's great. And then, of course, you get to go to University of Maryland and Ralph Friedgen. I guess he had just been to the Orange Bowl the year before and the Orange Bowl and the Peach Bowl a couple years. And then you guys won the Gator Bowl, I think, maybe your first year in 2003 or something like that. Dude, you were the man while I was there. I was writing for the Diamondback at the time. And I guess you're majoring in what? Studio art? Did that influence any of the eventual rap stuff, doing studio art by day and football by afternoon?
Well, I never really planned to do art. I went to school initially to study criminal justice. And what happened was a few of my teammates were coming in and they were art studio majors. I found myself gazing at their art, their work laying on the table in study hall. And at the time, Dolly 11 was my counselor. And I remember talking to her. I was like, hey, I really would love to try some of these classes. This art looks amazing. So she influenced me to really go forward with it and pursue whatever it is that was on my mind. And at the time, art was on my mind. As I discovered late in my age, which is because when I think back, I feel like I should have been doing it when I was in high school, but I couldn't really pursue the arts because to me, it just wasn't, I didn't feel like it was cool in that environment that I was in. So I didn't even know that I could draw. I didn't know I could paint. I didn't know any of those things. Yeah, when I made it to the NFL, what happened was I started doing so many other things and I fell in love with acting. I fell more in love with art. I opened up an art gallery. And then from there, I just went on, and then late in my career, which is when I was with the Washington Commanders, I started writing poetry when I was bored in meetings. And that's when I found my passion for writing and rapping.
I love that you continued the creative sort of pursuits, and you said you didn't think it was quote unquote cool, but I like that it seemed like it was always sort of bubbling under the surface for you, and you kind of finally went off with it in this rap album. Well, very cool. Same question I asked about high school, and you gave me, the mouthpiece story. How about in college? I remember, Madu Williams and Sean Merriman and Dominic Foxworth and DeQuell Jackson. Like, those were such good players you played with. But what was the game, your favorite, best game you think you played while in College Park?
My favorite game, my most memorable game, would probably be the game where I played against Duke. My nickname's Duke. I grew up as Little Duke. My dad was always Big Duke. But I ended up scoring 3 touchdowns in that game. And all I remember is the commentator and articles coming out, Duke scores 3 against Duke. So it's pretty cool. And growing up, I was in love with basketball, and Duke was my favorite school. It was my favorite school because I always wanted to be a basketball player. And I always said to myself that if I make it to college as a basketball player, I'm going to Duke.
The Grant Hill, the Christian Laettner probably grew up on that, and then yeah, exactly. But instead you went to Maryland, and there was some fiery ass rivalries against Duke. Those are some good times, man. Juan Dixon and the rest. That's good stuff. But hey, real quick. So, but in the NFL, obviously, you got drafted by the 49ers. I guess in 2009, you tied Antonio Gates' single season record for TD receptions by a tight end. I guess Gronk later broke that. Damn that Gronk. But most people will probably remember your NFC divisional round 2011 game against the Saints, where you broke Kellen Winslow's single game playoff record for yards with that and including that famous TD with 9 seconds left. What was it like getting to be, I guess you were the catch part 3, right? Joe Montana to Dwight Clark, Steve Young to Terrell Owens, and then Alex Smith to you. Like, do you just tears to the eyes still thinking of that?
Yeah, the catch 3. I remember it vividly. And it just felt amazing at the time. And it still feels amazing to be able to be in that circle of elite athletes when it comes to making plays. As a kid, you always dream of making that game-winning shot. And to me, that was that game-winning shot when I scored with a few seconds. I believe it was 11, 12, 13 seconds left on the clock. Can't remember. But it's a great feeling, and it's something that I continue to hold on to as I move on throughout my life.
Yeah, totally. So such a clutch catch. And for us here in DC, we were all rooting for you because we were all Terps fans, obviously. So we're rooting for you from afar. And I was just hoping, the next year, I guess it was, when RG3, if he didn't blow out his knee, we had a shot of seeing RG3 versus Kaepernick in the NFC Championship game. Hopefully, I think it might have happened, but he blew his knee out. But that would have been like the battle of the triple option quarterbacks. We missed out on that. But anyway, you guys go to play the Ravens in the Super Bowl that year, right? Do you all in the Niners? Do you still blame Beyonce's halftime show for blowing out the power and shifting the momentum in that thing? I think you guys were on the momentum before that.
Yeah, we did. We had some momentum going, and then all of a sudden the Ravens just started. Yeah, it was awful for us, but we came back with the vengeance, and we were able to continue to keep pounding away. And next thing you know, we put ourselves back in the game.
Yeah, it was a great game. But then you finally win the Super Bowl with the Broncos, and you get to play. What was it like playing with Peyton Manning and finally getting a Super Bowl there against the Panthers? I think it was the Von Miller sacking Cam Newton thing, right? I guess. But how rewarding was it to finally get that ring, man?
It was very, very rewarding. And to me, it doesn't really matter what team you win it with, even though the team that you started out with, the team that you put in all the years with is that team that you want to win a Super Bowl with. But unfortunately, it doesn't always unfold that way. But if you think about it, it's not about how you win a Super Bowl. It's more about the work that you put in. The work that you put in throughout the years and being able to surround yourself with great, talented players and having something so miraculous and something so amazing unfold in the sense of winning a Super Bowl. Like that's what you work for. That's what we play for. Our goal is to ultimately come out with the ring and a trophy. And I was able to pull that off in a totally unexpected way. It was super ironic, but it happened.
Yeah, congrats, dude. We were all happy for you. Hey, final question, football related before, because I want to end on, the Ritual Killer, your movie, and of course back to your album, bring it full circle to the entertainment biz and all that stuff. But real quick, I have to ask about the DC football days. You guys had so many offensive weapons that those few years you were there. I mean, I guess it was you and Jordan Reed at tight end. Pierre Garcon was like that tough as nails receiver, and then you could go deep with Deshaun Jackson as the deep threat. I guess, who was your quarterback? I guess it was Kirk Cousins before he blew up with the Vikings. But memories of those days. Like, I feel like, do you think that offense, was, if you might have had a slightly better defense, that offense could have gone deep in the postseason, I think.
Oh yeah, could have gone deep. Yeah, I think it was great. I mean, we had a talented roster, but it's not all about it. Just because you have a talented roster. I learned that. I learned it midway through my career. And I also started to understand it even more late in my career. You have to have all the pieces, like a bike. All the pieces have to work together concertedly. It has to be a concerted effort. And it meaning the upper management to the coaches, to the players, to the training staff. Everyone has to be on the same page in order to be a championship team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we at least got to enjoy seeing you play back here, in the hometown. So it was a fun little stretch at the end of your career there. But final seconds, pivoting out of football into entertainment. I know you did Whose Line Is It Anyways, and MTV's The Challenge, Dancing with the Stars, Domino Masters, all that fun stuff. But tell us about your latest effort. It's a movie. It's a thriller with Morgan Freeman called The Ritual Killer. Who do you play? What's the basic sort of premise?
Yeah, so basically there's a character I play named Randoku. He's the guy who's coming up with this. He's making this concoction called Muti, where he makes it and he sells it to people who want to feel more powerful. Mostly businessmen will come to him if they want to have more power. And this concoction that he's mixing with gold, clay, herbs, and body parts, they're buying it from him. So his job, he's commissioned for the work that he's doing and coming up with this concoction, which is crazy. And Morgan Freeman he's playing the college professor. Cole Hauser is playing the detective.
Awesome. Well, everyone check it out. It's called The Ritual Killer. I assume, is it on demand? Can we find it streaming anywhere yet? Or
you can find it on Amazon and Apple TV. And there's also a show that I have coming out on ESPN. It's I color commentate professional horseshoe throwers.
Wait, you're the color commentator for a horseshoe tournament or something?
Yeah, professional horseshoe throwers.
That is awesome. We can't wait to see that. All right, check out the Ritual Killer. Check out the Horseshoe Show on ESPN. And of course, bringing it full circle, check out your rap album Showtime by the great Vernon Davis with producer Tone P, District Funk Records. Congrats, man, for all the success and letting that creative side come out too. You said you didn't think it was cool, but it's pretty. No one's laughing now. It's pretty cool now, man.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Hey, thank you so much for taking the time on WTOP. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.